Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. We're going to be discussing AI adoption in the workplace. I'm Paul Jocelyn from the Access Group. I'm a head of engineering for Access Evo, and Access Evo creates a common user experience across multiple products and incorporates AI in an exciting but secure way to enable our users and customers to achieve more in their day-to-day work. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by two guests, Laurent, Business Intelligence Manager at Martins Rubber and Access Customer, and Anil, Senior AI Cloud Solutions Architect at Microsoft. Laurent, would you like to just take a moment to introduce yourself and Martins Rubber?
Yeah, sure. So Martins Rubber is a SME, manufacturing SME, who specializes in bespoke rubber products for industries such as aerospace, defense, and niche automobile. I joined Martins Rubber 4 years ago as a BI manager. So my role here is to maintain the infrastructure, maintain the IT hardware, software, the application, and develop tools to help decision-making to run the business and drive improvement in manufacturing.
Awesome. And likewise, Anil, if you could just do a quick introduction, maybe talk a bit about Microsoft with Access.
So we have been collaborating with Access Group more than 1.5 years. It is particularly an interesting client for us. It's a top software engineering company. They are creating really high quality software, and they are almost in the same industry as us because they are focused on modern workplace solutions in a sense. And as Microsoft, we also build modern workplace solutions, and we can really empathize them. So I've been helping Access Group to build a Access Evo Copilot solution to augment their existing solution and used in a more interactive manner by their customers.
Awesome. Thanks, Anil. So, Laurent, perhaps we could just start with you talking a bit about whether you or your team have actually already explored the use of AI in the workplace.
So we really at the start of it. It's a subject that is very exciting us at the moment, but we haven't fully embarked into it. We're starting to look at candidates and areas of opportunity where AI could play its role, and starting to understand what do we need to do to be prepared for that journey and for that, let's use that word, that transformation into the AI world.
And obviously, we'll get to, hopefully, in the future about all the benefits AI can bring. But I guess as part of that exploration at the start, you're looking at some of the challenges and the technical hurdles of actually implementing AI in the workplace. Perhaps you could share a bit of kind of what you've explored so far in that aspect.
Yes. So to me, there's two main ones. My background is process engineering. And in my previous days, I remember that as a process engineer, the quality of the data of historical data, manufacturing data, was a big obstacle to run predictive models or to run statistical tools. And what I'm observing is with AI, we're moving into the same obstacle of the data that we would use for AI is not as clean or as available as it needs to be. One example I would use is languages. I could see that there would be a huge benefit for us to use our own language, our own data, but the way it's written is the words that we choose are not consistent, are not clear. So we're not prepared to use AI on that subject. The other big one as a small manufacturing business is making devices available to the workforce. If we want to deploy AI to the shop floor, then these people need to have the devices. And it's not commonly that a small manufacturing business would provide, let's say, a mobile phone to every employee or a laptop to every employee.
So that's really interesting. So you're talking about the data integrity there at the start. You need to make sure the data is in the right kind of format actually for the AI to use to kind of move forward.
Yeah.
But that's also a really interesting thing there. I know you kind of work in the manufacturing space, and I've heard previously about Access products having dashboards, for example, on the shop floor, so everybody can see the key insights information, but they might not have a device for themselves to be able to use the AI day to day. So that's very interesting. And Anil, obviously, you'll be working with many customers. Are there any other technical hurdles that you're seeing these customers sort of facing to actually adopt AI?
I work with many manufacturing companies as well, and I agree to Laurent that there is typically a single machine on the shop floor, and the users don't, the employees working on the shop floor don't have immediate access to information, to the intelligence. I definitely agree on that. I think there is a path for digitization and increased use of handhelds inside the shop floor. There is definitely a opportunity. There are definitely opportunities to use central consoles more effectively and to get feeds from the task management systems like what Access already provides to Marty's Rubber. To at least maximize the usage of individual users, the existing devices. So this is what we see. So at least an efficient usage of the existing devices could be an improvement, in my opinion.
Do either of you see across the kind of user base a kind of fear about security at all? Obviously, there's a lot of sort of worries about, will AI kind of use all my data in a bad way or anything like that? Is that something either of you have actually kind of come across yourself?
This was, sorry.
Yeah. Yes. Especially for us as a smaller business with smaller team, there is that fear of AI will replace me, because there is that, well, it's my job. I'm doing this part. So if AI is doing it and I'm the only one that my job and my only job, then what am I going to do? So the smaller the team, actually, the more defensive I'm finding people are getting.
And I think that's one of the key things that we've noticed. Access actually did a survey recently, which I think will be published alongside this if anybody wants to download it. And the key use of AI that I think a lot of people are really embracing is the AI there is an assistant to you. So it's not to replace you in your job, it's to empower you in your job. We found some really interesting information in this, that 72% of adults had already got an understanding of AI, and half of the people surveyed actually used it already in their workplace, with 93% of respondents saying that AI was having a positive impact in their workplace. So I think that's one of the key things. AI isn't there to replace you, it's there to empower you and your business to be able to do more. Anil, like security on the data, that must be a key thing that we've really got to focus on, making sure that the data is kept in a secure way.
Yes, this means that you should be embracing still the best practices for enterprise governance. You would need to ensure that the data is accessed by the right people. You need to ensure the confidentiality problems, the individual confidentiality problems. You should be careful about how you use copyrights. So it was typically one of the first conversation points that we have almost with all clients. They want to ensure that their data is used in the right manner. And we are doing a lot of myth busting actually on this topic. But at the same time, the platform creators for these AI-based tools have a serious responsibility of ensuring that they take the necessary guardrails to prepare the potential consumers for an effective usage and a safe and secure usage, in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's it. We've worked quite closely with Microsoft with Access Evo. We've got 3 tiers of security. So we talk about it being company secure, permissions aligned, and personally private. So whenever you interact with the AI services in Access Evo, they are completely private. So you can put your company data in there, not worry about that perhaps ending up in training a model somewhere. And likewise, the way that we integrate the products into this, we make sure all the permissions and access controls are exactly the same as using a product. So the data won't be available if you can't access it in your underlying products. So it's really great that we talked about the technical challenges, because I think that's a lot of the fear people might have. But now let's get on to the exciting bit. How can AI actually improve productivity and streamline processes in the workplace? Lauren, I'd love to hear your thoughts in where you work.
Yeah, so the areas that we looked at go in automation of routine tasks, things that people do day in, day out, saying, let's say the receipt of a purchase order, or matching invoice with goods in receipts, and having an assistant to carry out these tasks. The other one is, the early preparation of work packages. So for me, it's preparing a code, a piece of code that I'm going to use. And I've used a Copilot once to help me with transferring the price list of a customer into the ASC ERP system from the Access Group. So that was about 200 lines that normally somebody will go one by one in the ERP system and enter the data. The code that the Copilot gave me took 5-10 minutes to work, and all the transaction went done within half an hour. That huge time saving. But so it's that part of, please help me with the part. I'll fine tune it. I'll make it work, but give me the body of the code I need.
And that, I think, comes back to what we talked about earlier about AI there. AI is there not to be a scary thing. It's to be an assistant. It's to be able to give you more help doing things. I know, again, referring back to that survey, they kind of asked many users what they use AI for today, and it is the gathering and analyzing data, generating ideas, content creation, automating tasks, summarizing info. It's all those things that actually can benefit you on what you're already doing day to day. And Anil, I don't know. Oh, sorry, Lauren.
So can I just add to what you just said? I think there's also that part of, if the assistant is going to do the trivial task, then there is most likely a need for that person to learn new skill. So in that example that I've mentioned about purchasing, that free time for that person to do something else, and that something else could be negotiating with a supplier, spending more time negotiating supplier, but that's a new skill that person need to develop.
And I think that's a great point, actually. With the AI piece, you can perhaps free yourself up to focus on the things that really do make the biggest impact in your workplace. And it's not to sort of say that, as you say, AI is not going to replace you, but it can assist you on the things that perhaps you would have spent lots of time on, and then actually let you have the bigger impact in your workday on the real important tasks. Anil, I was going to say, are there any other things that you've seen around improving productivity, perhaps even how it can provide valuable insights, for example?
So even before generative AI boom, I can say that we were always working with our manufacturing customers on improving the productivity to ensure that we optimize, we streamline their processes. So this was a topic of general purpose AI, even before generative AI. But making human beings as a part of it, being more involved and contributing to the process is also important to improve the productivity journey. So we observe that human beings, at least delegating these kind of very repetitive tasks to AI tools, compare unstructured information very quickly, that helps a lot. Human beings accessing to knowledge documents, to information, to data with their natural language, and searching through knowledge bases effectively is really accelerating their day-to-day work. So these were some of the top use cases, I can say that. There is obviously more advanced implementations of it where these tasks could be even distributed to the multiple human beings to ensure that the overall team is working very efficiently. And I think we will increasingly see these kind of use cases in our manufacturing customers. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that excites me at the moment when I'm seeing it, Evo, obviously we use it internally in Access. So as you said, getting the knowledge from policy documents, things like that. But then likewise, we've got a feed which brings all the insight and actionable notifications directly to you wherever you are. But they've actually now got a new feature which can launch the Copilot prompt off the back of that to go and get me the additional information that allows me to decide how I'm going to make that decision. So it's very, very exciting. And I guess thinking about the benefits of AI, Neil, maybe you will have an example around this. Can AI actually enhance the customer satisfaction and loyalty as well?
Some of the top use cases where we have driven the value was about customer satisfaction. There is a very well-known public customer story about it. It's one of the earliest clients who embraced our services around generative AI and assistance. It's the story of Vodafone. There are many customers there who is trying to use AI at a certain level. But what really differentiates Vodafone is they are able to really generate a substantial business value out of it. And this business value is thanks to the customer satisfaction, because telecommunications organizations are highly focused on customer service. And they were able to achieve with their new assistant much better net promoter scores. And they were able to improve their call resolution times. They were able to improve their completions, successful completions, with the help of their assistants. This happened thanks to their way of organization with our account teams, in a sense, because they are firstly asking the business value to start a project, and they are really planning everything around return on investment perspective. So it's more business value driven than technology driven, in a sense, in their decision making. And they are defining their do's and don'ts very well. So I can say that this has been a very successful case study. We do a lot of these kind of customer satisfaction focused use cases across our clients, across different industries. Yeah.
Fantastic. So across the board, I think there's a lot of pluses there for using AI in the workplace, whether it was helping with tasks, improving satisfaction, finding insightful information to help me make decisions. I guess, Laurent, when you're actually looking at adopting AI in the workplace, are there particular financial resource implications from actually adopting this?
Yes, the answer is yes. And I think that's a big hurdle, is that the upfront cost is for a business can be quite high, and the time involved in setting it all up can be quite high. Or potentially an initial project or solution with limited benefit. And what people need to bear in mind is that upfront cost is an investment. It will enable to deliver so many more projects after, because the right infrastructure will be in place, the right data and the right quality will be in place, that you can much more easily deploy the next project. But the first one is a harder one, and you really need to give people confidence of the journey ahead, of the 10 years to come.
Mm. And do you have, kind of talking about the people in the workplace, there might be some people who are not familiar with AI. Do you actually need to plan to upskill them on how to use this new technology?
Yes. So I'm not too sure, actually. Yes, you are correct. There are people that are not aware of AI. And I was taken a bit aback when we were having a conversation with one of the team, office-based team, and I mentioned ChatGPT, and they had no idea what it was. They never
Wow.
heard about it. I know. I was like, wow. So yes, there is that education, that learning to be done. But I come from a world of statistics, and in the back of my mind is, in a way, people don't really need to know AI. They don't need to know how a statistical model work. All they want is the function, the what it delivers.
Yeah.
So if you think about our own life at home, we use AI all the time in some short form. We never been trained on it. It just happened and we used it, and there's minimal training required. So I think in the workplace, actually, it probably been more of a mindset change in what could AI do for me, rather than, oh, how do I get trained on AI?
I think that's like a fantastic point, right? If we think about the modern AI that we're using and looking to use across our products, behind the scenes, they're essentially using what we call a large language model. So a large language model is a model that has been trained on human language. And when we actually interface with the AI, we're talking to somebody in human language, which, coming back from an engineering background myself, and I think obviously an engineering workplace that you work in as well, Laurent, I'm used to dealing with zeros and ones and code. Actually, the modern interface for interacting with these AIs isn't code. It's human language. You speak to it as if it's a person, and it will do what you ask it to. So it's a great point that the actual amount of training that we need to give to people, once they've got used to the tools, might actually become quite natural to them once they actually adopt it. You also mentioned talking about 10 years' time, thinking about long-term plans. Now, AI is accelerating at a crazy rate, right? It's insane how fast it's gone over the last couple of years. So what does the future for AI look like in our working lives, our personal lives in the future? I don't know, Laurent, if you want to comment first, and then we'll go to Anil. I'm sure he'll have a lot of ideas from Microsoft.
What you just talked about, people asking as if they were talking to a human. I think yes. I think the keyboard will disappear. You will just be talking to your hardware, whatever that looks like, and they will hopefully start to have convergence between the data, the information that we hold on our servers, and the manufacturing equipment. And I could see that operators will be able at some point to talk to their machines, for the machine to do the work that they told them to do. Not only being what we have at the moment, which is very computer-based, I'm asking the computer to do something. I think there is a potential for manufacturing to move into, the manufacturing process becoming told what to do.
Fantastic. Very sci-fi-esque when you think about it, but it sometimes feels like we're living in those sci-fi movies that I grew up watching. We're finally there. Anil, I don't know if you've got any thoughts about this?
I think I loved really Laurent's answer. It was very in line with what I'm really envisioning, and Microsoft envisions for actually where these assistants, where the more extended usage of AI will help us, and where it will change things for us in our day-to-day interactions. What's really interesting about this innovation in the last years is it was really coming from bottom to top. Your research shows the same thing, I guess. It's very interesting that in many organizations, actually, people were interested in using ChatGPT. They were really even without informing their employers, they started on their own pace. And in our initial interactions with our clients they were trying to bring some kind of a order to this chaos, in a sense, to make it more enterprise friendly and in line with their organizational policies. So it came literally from the people. So as it is adopted very well, people want in their lives AI. We can see that it's a reality. People want AI in their lives. So the important thing, next step, is using responsibly AI in your life to be productive and to make your life better, actually, and then do your work life better as well. So all these things are very connected. Just as Lauren mentioned, he mentioned his machines, of course, as a manufacturing expert, he will say so. For us, the computers, obviously, personal computers will evolve into something else, like personal assistants in a sense. And our interaction with these assistants will change. They will be probably totally part of our life and following us through this journey. And our interaction model will totally change. That's the summary I can say that.
And who knows, right? That's the thing. It's gone so fast the last couple of years. It's almost hard to predict the future, but it's definitely an exciting future. And I think you mentioned that survey again, Anil. One of the things that I was amazed by was that employees are already taking advantage of AI. So it's so important that the employers of those employees are embracing the tools that actually allow their end users to use those tools effectively in a safe and secure manner. Bringing it back from way into the future, back to now, Lauren, I wondered if you could talk about kind of what you've actually seen today where you have adopted AI in the workplace and what are the sort of benefits you've seen from that so far?
So yeah, I mentioned the helping me with coding, which especially for me, because I'm not an expert at any language. I just use what I find and what I can. So it's great to have Copilot next to me, helping me with getting me started. And that enabled me to free so much time. The other one that we started to use is around building our company policies and making sure they are aligned with current legislation. So having an assistant to help with the generation of this document, it's a great time saver. They still need us to have a read through, correct, tweak, check, but that 80% of the work is done. And let's face it, it's not the most interesting part of my job to start writing policies and procedures. So it's great to have something like that to help. And the other one I would like to see, actually going slightly off topic, thinking about the Access Group, is the training materials and having people who use product being able to ask these questions on how do I do this with this software?
No, that's a great one. And everywhere in the business, every product right now is adopting this Evo platform and they're looking at those powerful use cases. So watch this space. I'm pretty sure that will be coming. And thanks for sharing that feedback. I know we're almost out of time, but since both of you have got quite a lot of experience on this, I just wanted to sort of finish on the final question, which is some of the people watching this might be brand new to adopting AI in the workplace. What advice would you give to companies that are just beginning to explore AI solutions? Are there any best practice or pitfalls to avoid? I don't know, Lauren, if you want to just go first.
I won't go into best practice because I don't know them. But my 2 pieces of advice is just try. If you think of something, you get annoyed with doing something, just have a try at AI, see if you could help. Don't be afraid of it. And the other one for me is that we need to do here as well is think now about your language. I've got this thing now where I'm starting to spot that even with one side, we, for example, name things differently. A team will call an area one way, the other team will call it another way. So when the time comes and you want to build your own language models, then you will get stuck because your language would be all over the place and you won't have enough big data around you to make sense of it. So when you write document, when you write procedure, be consistent and be thoughtful of the data, the data and the language that you use. Excellent.
Thank you for sharing that. And Anil, briefly, I don't know how much time we got, but maybe the best practices, pitfalls to avoid. What can you share?
I can say that as I mentioned the Vodafone story, you can just start, trying is really good. Just trying reduces the fear in a sense, ensure that it's used and tried well in your organization. So you can start creating a restricted version of Azure OpenAI in your organization with security requirements set up. Just putting some right restrictions, make it popularized in the organization, break the fear about open AI in a sense. But later on, really think about what's the business value you can obtain from this? What are the top use cases that you should really prioritize, that you can create positive outcomes to your users, to your internal users and your customers in a sense. And this will actually create further investments and further motivation to invest more on AI and in your organization. Yeah. So you need to create these success stories in the early stages. You need to discover firstly, and then you need to create some success stories internally that will feed back to later further maturity levels.
Fantastic. I was just going to say, I think we're almost out of time. So I just want to say thanks for your time today. It's been a really insightful conversation about adopting AI in the workplace. Thank you very much.
Thank you.